In my 4th year as his kept woman, I got pregnant. Just as I was about to tell Tom the news, I saw a financial report in his office. It said he had massive loans from several banks and was deeply in debt. He was definitely going bankrupt. Panicked, I swapped my ultrasound report for a fake cancer diagnosis, packed my bags, and skipped town. It wasn't until 6 years later. My daughter went off to summer camp. During a video call, she yelled excitedly, "Mom! You're about to be rich. You'll never guess what happened. I was showing your picture around during a tour, and someone wanted to buy it. For a super high price. $500,000 for one of your pretty pictures." $500,000? Worried that Cindy might get into trouble, I had tucked a photo of myself into her pocket. But it was just a standard, 1-inch, blue background passport photo. I had written my name and phone number on the back, just in case someone needed to contact me. I frowned, holding the phone closer. "Are you sure you didn't run into a scammer? You didn't sell your mom, did you?" I asked suspiciously. Cindy shook her head frantically. "No way. You have no idea. This guy was so handsome and tall. And his car was amazing. My teacher said his car must be worth tens of millions. The university president was practically bowing to him. We were just lucky to run into him while he was here on a business trip." Cindy said the man gave her a bank card and a PIN. I used them to log into the online banking portal. Holy crap. There was really $500,000 in the account. The guy wasn't a scammer. For a second, I thought of Tom. But I quickly dismissed the idea. Hadn't Tom gone bankrupt? How could he possibly have hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend on a picture when he owed the bank so much money? Besides, his feelings for me probably weren't that deep, were they? After all, we had only been together for 4 years. Back then, my family's business went under, and creditors were at our door every day. To pay off the debt, my dad packaged me up and sent me to Tom. He was the biggest tycoon in the entire industry. Tom was actually very good to me. Whatever bags or jewelry I glanced at, he would order them for me instantly. He didn't have any other women on the side either. He was a model of faithfulness, and everyone in his circle even respectfully treated me like I was his wife. That's why when I first found out I was pregnant, my initial reaction was to tell him the news immediately. But I rushed to the CEO's office, full of excitement, only to find a stack of financial reports on his desk. I had to drop out of college after my first year because the money ran out. Normally, I wouldn't have given those papers a second glance. But for some reason, that day, as if possessed, I opened them. I shouldn't have looked. The moment I did, I nearly had a heart attack. There was something called a balance sheet, and it showed that Tom's company had borrowed a ton of money from banks. I couldn't even count all the zeros. Oh my God. He was definitely going under. I can still remember my reaction. It was like 2 little figures were fighting in my head. The angel told me I should stay and help Tom get through the tough times. But very quickly, the devil shot that idea down. "Rose, have you forgotten what it was like dodging creditors with your father? It was so hard, so exhausting, and you were scared every single day. And now you have a baby. You can't let your baby suffer with you too." I touched my stomach. In the end, I put the pregnancy report away, afraid that he would look for me. I went online and paid $30 for someone to fake a cancer diagnosis for me. I wrote on the back of it with a pen. The doctor said I have 3 months left. I'm going to spend my last days traveling and seeing the world. Please forget me, Tom. Let's meet again in the next life. Before I left, I had originally planned to take all the gifts Tom had given me. But then I thought about it. He was about to go bankrupt. I should probably leave him something. Sigh. I really, really love money. For a gold digger like me to willingly leave behind half of my Hermes bag collection for you. That's some serious love, okay? But if it wasn't Tom, Who could it be? I couldn't get a name out of Cindy. I scratched my chin. Worried it was some scammer with bad intentions, I decided to call her teacher. It was already quite late. But the homeroom teacher in charge of the trip answered quickly. Is this about Cindy? The teacher seemed to know why I was calling and explained. Don't worry, Ms. White, we've already confirmed everything. The gentleman is not a bad person. While $500,000 might seem extravagant, from what we've seen of him, it's probably an insignificant amount of money to him. 500,000 is a small amount? That made me even more curious about who he was. But the teacher just shook her head. Honestly, I don't know for sure. His assistant said their boss doesn't want to reveal his name. All I know is that the gentleman seems to have lost a wife and an unborn child. It seems that child would have been about Cindy's age. Plus, Cindy looks a bit like him, so it probably creates a sense of familiarity. Perhaps he's projecting certain feelings, that's why he wants to be closer. A sense of familiarity. A thought suddenly popped into my head. This guy isn't treating me and Cindy as stand-ins for his dead wife and child, using us to play out his weird emotional drama, is he? I've only ever seen stuff like this in cheesy romance novels. I've never encountered it in real life. God, is this going to be a huge mess? But from the sounds of it, the guy was a major player. I had no choice but to ask the teacher for help first. I have exams these next few days and can't get away. Could you please keep a closer eye on Cindy at the school? She's impulsive. I don't want her to get tricked or anything. The teacher agreed immediately. You can rest assured. We will absolutely guarantee the student's safety. We'll pay attention to whoever Cindy comes into contact with. The teacher truly kept her promise. Because the very next day, that mysterious tycoon directly sponsored the school's summer camp, for free. The money the kids had originally paid only covered a regular chain hotel. With a wave of his hand, he upgraded everyone to a 5-star hotel. There was one top-tier presidential suite left, and he gave it directly to Cindy. And the itinerary, which was originally just free public attractions. Like universities, parks, museums, and exhibitions. The tycoon waved his hand again, took the kids' wishes into account. And added 2 days at an amusement park and a wildlife safari. The train ride back was also upgraded to a private charter flight. I was studying vocabulary when Cindy called me that night. Her excited shriek nearly shattered my eardrum. On the screen, she gave me a 360-degree tour of the legendary presidential suite. Beyond the massive floor-to-ceiling windows was a dazzling view of the entire city skyline. Skyscrapers, lighthouses, the winding river. The cars speeding on the highway below had shrunk to tiny green specks. Flickering lights vanishing in every direction. I suddenly felt a sense of familiarity. This place. Hadn't Tom brought me here before? The same hotel, same floor, same room. Just as I was thinking it was a coincidence. My daughter's voice came through the phone. Mommy, Mommy. Look, look. Isn't it beautiful here? I told you, right? That uncle is super rich. All the kids were talking about it today. I nodded. Then, I watched as Cindy suddenly paused. She became all secretive, pressing her entire face against the screen. She blinked and whispered to me. Mommy. I just had a genius idea to make money. Why is the rich uncle so interested in you and me? It's definitely because we remind him of his wife and the baby she was carrying. He misses the past so much. So, what do you think? Should we just become his stand-ins? We could get rich overnight. She's definitely my daughter. How could we be on the exact same weird wavelength? Cindy absolutely inherited my best genes. Sometimes I hold her face in my hands and just stare. How could this child look so much like Tom, yet have a personality exactly like mine? She's been obsessed with money since she was little. A total hustler. Because I had swiped half the bags and luxury goods when I left Tom. I wasn't short on cash. Cindy never suffered a day with me. She had the best of everything, living situation, food, you name it. But even so, if I was just browse on Amazon, she'd lean over and comparison shop to see which option was the best deal. By the time she started preschool, her skill set leveled up, and she started her own little business. The teachers didn't allow kids to bring snacks or toys to class, afraid it would be hard to manage. But she was the bold one. Every day, she'd secretly stuff her little backpack with candies, cookies, trading cards, and stuff. Then, during lunch, she'd set up her stall and start selling. A few cents here and there. Whatever she earned, she'd put it in her piggy bank, patting it happily. She said she was going to use the money to start a company one day. Thinking about all this, I stammered for a while, finally managing to say to Cindy on the phone, "You're just a kid, what do you even know about being a stand-in?" Cindy gave me a look. "Mom, have you never watched TV? A stand-in is an actor, someone who plays a role the boss needs." She stomped her foot, exasperated. "Mom, don't you dare ruin my brilliant startup plan. Quick, mail me some more of your pictures and any little things you've made. I'm going to sell them to the rich uncle. He'll definitely be interested. This will be my seed funding. I'll get financing, go public, and then become a super amazing entrepreneur." Because this whole situation was so bizarre, I couldn't keep it to myself. So the next day, while studying at the library, I told my study buddy about it. Leo. He's a minor rich kid himself. But he's an illegitimate son. For over 20 years, he didn't care about anything, just partying. The company was going to the legitimate son anyway, so he just had to live off his fixed allowance. Who would have thought that one day the eldest son became paralyzed, and the second son found religion and became a monk? As the only seedling left, he was suddenly pulled out and thrown onto the board of directors. When the other executives saw him, he truly knew nothing. Forget terms like investment, acquisition, or equity financing, he couldn't even understand a simple report. Leo once complained to me that when he first started, he was completely lost. His assistant showed him a financial report, and it scared the crap out of him. I took one look and was like, holy crap. They owe the banks that much money? This company is going bankrupt, right? They didn't just bring me in to be the fall guy, did they? Maybe I should just pack my bags and run. It was only later that he learned about things like debt-to-asset ratios. The fact that banks were willing to lend money meant the company had good credit. You had to borrow money to have more cash on hand to make even more money. It meant the company was in a growth phase, blah blah blah. I was trying to memorize vocabulary while he was telling me all this. I briefly looked up. For some reason, what he was describing sounded a little familiar. But just as quickly, the sight of his flapping mouth annoyed me, and I immediately tuned him out. I plugged my ears and plopped down at another table to get back to my vocabulary. Now that Cindy had come up with this crazy idea, I immediately thought of my rich kid classmate, Leo. He's in those elite circles, maybe he's heard of this tycoon? In the library's coffee shop. I closed my college entrance exam prep book and rubbed my chin. I glanced at him. So, what do you think? Is it legit? Can you find out who this guy is? Leo also rubbed his chin. After a moment, he grunted. I'll try. Give me a few days. I'll have my people ask around and see which newly rich idiot has this much free time to hang out at parks with a bunch of kids. And so, the plan was in motion. While I had Leo doing his detective work, I went home and actually packed up a bunch of random stuff and express shipped it to Cindy. Things like my headshots, some handmade dolls, gloves, and scarves I'd knitted while watching TV. Cindy was incredibly enthusiastic about selling things. I think she really saw that rich boss as a total sucker. When she called me, she was excitedly showing off. Mommy, we made another huge profit today. Check your bank account. I sold the scarf you made. That uncle absolutely loved it. He held it and stroked it for so long, I thought he was going to cry. And that picture of the two of us. He saw it on my phone the other day and just stared at it for the longest time. So I just downloaded it and sold it to him. I watched Cindy sitting by the huge floor-to-ceiling window of the presidential suite, holding a calculator, giggling as she added up the numbers over and over, then using her fingers to figure out how we were going to split the profits. That strange, nagging feeling crept back into my mind. Who on earth was this guy? Why would he be so lavishly generous to two complete strangers? Was it really because of his deceased wife and child? Unfortunately, my brain is just too slow. I couldn't figure it out. So I just pulled out my phone. And once again, I checked my bank account balance. It was in the millions now. Alright, then. At this rate, hitting the tens of millions was just a matter of time. Why was I overthinking it so much? I might as well just let Cindy do her thing. The worst that could happen is the sucker realizes he's being taken for a ride. And then the two of us can just grab the money and run. But it probably wouldn't even come to that. Because one day, Cindy's passion for getting rich through buying and selling seemed to cool down abruptly. She started to lose interest in bleeding the rich uncle dry. Here's what happened. The summer camp was 2 weeks long. By the time I noticed the change, there wasn't much time left before she was due to come home. During our usual phone call, Cindy seemed a bit down. I thought something bad had happened. The little girl's big eyes blinked. A confused and puzzled look appeared on her face as she stared at me blankly. After a long pause, she finally stammered out what was on her mind. Mommy. I ran into the uncle's assistant the other day. He said his boss had a mental breakdown when he lost his wife. I suddenly feel like maybe it's wrong for us to take his money like this. For Cindy, whose dream is to be the richest person in the world, to actually hesitate about exploiting another capitalist? I scratched my chin and started to wonder what kind of revolutionary friendship had blossomed between my daughter and that tycoon over the past few days. In just one summer camp, Cindy had gotten to know many of the people around the tycoon. But all of his trusted staff had been instructed never to reveal the gentleman's true identity. However, during their meals and outings together, she still managed to find out a lot. Driven by her professional spirit of needing to understand the customer to make a profit, Cindy took out her little notebook and secretly eavesdropped on conversations between the assistant and others. She jotted down some details about the life of this wealthy tycoon and his wife. Well, wife. The two were never actually married, according to rumors. The day before the boss was planning to propose, the mysterious woman suddenly disappeared without a trace. The incident caused a huge stir in their social circle at the time. Some said she ran away from home, others said she broke up with the boss. There were even rumors that the woman was kidnapped and murdered by his enemies because she was pregnant. All sorts of stories. Outlandish and bizarre. The rumors flew. But what was visibly clear was that as time went on, the boss's mental state got worse and worse. He searched for her frantically, almost obsessively. The rest of the time, he would lock himself in his office, constantly working. His expression was so grim that no one dared to bother him. Until one day, he collapsed at the company from overwork. He was rushed to the hospital. The day after he woke up, the boss sat in his hospital room for a long time. Then he made a decision. He called back all the subordinates he had scattered everywhere to search for his love and put a stop to it. I didn't do a good enough job, that's why she left. I need to learn how to be a good husband. A good father. When she forgives me, she'll naturally come back. He had a special room set up for a child in his villa. He designed, decorated, and furnished it himself. Every so often, he would bring home toys and dolls that a child would like, and arrange them one by one. The assistant once saw an elder from the boss's family come over and tell him to stop doing all this. They said they'd been searching for so long without finding her, she must be dead. The proper thing to do was to get married through an alliance. The boss didn't even look up. He just kept flipping through the children's book in his hand and had the person shown out. After Cindy finished telling me all these things she had pieced together from eavesdropping, she rested her chin on the table, tilted her head, and for the first time, showed a look of confusion and bewilderment. Mom. I heard people say. That gentleman transferred his love for his lost child onto me. I don't know. I'm actually a little jealous of that kid. Because I think that uncle would actually be a really good dad. She paused, blinking her eyes. She looked away. And asked in a very, very soft voice. Mom. If my dad were still alive, what would he be like? I told Cindy that her father died in an accident. The reason was that he was on a business trip abroad and ran into a sudden thunderstorm. The plane crashed into the ocean. His whereabouts were unknown. No one ever recovered his body. Cindy rarely brought up her father. Sometimes at preschool, when kids were roughhousing, a tactless child would say she didn't have a dad. Cindy never let it get to her. She always responded with her fists, hitting back hard. Is having a dad such a big deal? Can he compare to my mom? My mom just bought me a limited edition collaboration bracelet for $200,000. Do you have that? My mom's jewelry designs were bought by a major brand for a high price. Can your dad do that? Speaking of which, jewelry design is sort of my job now. As a single mom, I can't just live off my savings. I needed to have my own career. Money aside, it gives my daughter something to be proud of. But I looked up at Cindy on the other side of the screen. Perhaps because she had so rarely mentioned the role of a father before. Her sudden question caught me completely off guard. Looking into Cindy's eyes, I froze for a moment. Memories of my time with Tom slowly surfaced in my mind, and I blurted out. What was he like? Probably just one of those super busy big bosses. Cindy didn't seem to hear me clearly. She moved closer to the screen, her face a mask of curiosity. What? What did you just say, Mom? What was my dad like? Once I started, I couldn't seem to stop. I had to keep talking, thinking of Tom's image. He was very successful in his career, founded his own company, had thousands or maybe tens of thousands of employees. Money was basically nothing to him, so he seemed incredibly generous. If you asked him for something, he'd buy it for you with his eyes closed. Oh, and he was good-looking, tall, thin, and had 2 dimples when he smiled. But his style was so boring. I counted on my fingers, ramping up my complaints. All he ever wore were suits and white shirts. He only had a few types of ties, either solid colors or diagonal stripes, at most decorated with a tie clip I bought him. Oh, right. Before I could finish, Cindy suddenly jumped up. Waving her phone in her hand, she shouted. Mommy, Mommy. What a coincidence. Dad sounds so much like the rich uncle. Let me tell you, the rich uncle is also tall and thin, also very generous, and he always wears suits and ties. And he has a tie clip too. Now it was my turn to be confused. I frowned, not quite processing it. I let out a sound. Huh. Cindy glanced at me. Ugh, you won't get it just by me telling you. Our summer camp is about to end, right? The rich uncle said he's free these next few days, so he can just what? Suddenly, there was a knock 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 at the door. It sounded like Cindy's homeroom teacher. The little girl ignored me and went skipping and bouncing to open the door. Sure enough, a moment later, the female teacher in a white blouse appeared on the screen. When she noticed Cindy was on a call with me, she bent down and waved at me too. She smiled. Perfect timing, Cindy's mom. I was actually going to call you tonight, so I can just tell you both at once. She picked up her phone, seeming to scroll through her notes. Our flight is tomorrow, right? It's a morning flight, landing around 5 or 6 in the evening. Please write down the flight number so you can coordinate your time to come over. I nodded. The school had actually announced this in the group chat 3 days ago. This must be a final confirmation. After she finished, the teacher looked at Cindy again. She suddenly frowned and poked her on the forehead, pretending to be serious. What time is it? Have you brushed your teeth? Washed your face? Are you planning to secretly play games again tonight? Why aren't you asleep yet? Cindy is actually quite scared of her teacher. She immediately hid her phone behind her back and covered her face, shaking her head. No, I'm not. I'm turning it off right now. You can check, teacher. I always turn off the lights and go to sleep on time. I'm very well behaved even when I sleep alone. The next moment, the phone screen went black with a snap. I guess Cindy was spooked by the teacher's mock scolding and scrambled into bed. But my curiosity was piqued. What was that rich boss going to do these next few days? Just what? Cindy, how could you leave me hanging like that? Despite my curiosity. After a night's sleep, all thoughts of the boss, the rich man, the tie clip, were all pushed to the back of my mind. I had to register for my exams the next morning. After a flurry of online activity, it was already noon. I quickly ate a bowl of noodles and then rushed to the airport. There was no traffic, so the drive was smooth. When I arrived and checked my watch, I was half an hour early. Waiting around was boring. There happened to be a toy store in the airport doing a collaboration with a new animated movie. I remembered Cindy saying she wanted something from there, so it was the perfect chance to buy a few things. By the time I finished shopping, it was about time. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was Cindy. She had been on the plane all day. This was her first call. Mommy. I'm off the plane. Where are you? We'll come find you. I looked at the bag of toys in my hand and smiled. I'm right at exit C2. Ask your teacher where you guys are. She probably has to look after the other kids, so I'll come find you. Cindy paused and quickly rejected my suggestion. No need. The uncle is dropping me off. He said he happened to have a business trip here. Mommy, I'll introduce you. You can see for yourself, doesn't he look a lot like my dad? So sudden. Even more sudden. That thing I had asked my study buddy, Leo, to do at the library last time, he seemed to have some news. As expected from someone in the same circle, he worked fast. He had actually found the rich boss that Cindy had been scamming. I received a text from him on my phone. The moment I opened it, a photo jumped into my view. Hey. Rose, is this the guy you wanted me to find? No idea what's gotten into him. Is he having dinner with your daughter? Tom. My hand trembled. I looked up and saw Cindy with her little Lena Bell backpack. Tom was following behind her, pushing a suitcase with his left hand and carrying a large bag of gifts with his right. His gaze met mine. No evasion, no surprise. As if he had expected it all along, he smiled faintly and said my name. Rose. Long time no see. Yeah. It's been 6 years, hasn't it? Tom was wearing a gray suit with a white shirt and the same old blue tie. On it hung a small, golden tie clip. It was the birthday present I had given him back then. It cost a couple of $1,000, not exactly a luxury item. After so long, it was already a bit faded. I never thought he'd still have it. Cindy shot towards me like a little rocket. She threw her arms around me, rubbing her face against my waist while cooing sweetly. Mommy. I missed you so much. This is the first time I've been away from you for so long. Did you miss me? Let me tell you, our trip was so much fun. I saw the ocean, rode a pirate ship, and even fed a giraffe. And I bought tons and tons of toys and snacks. I have presents for you too, all hand-picked by me. Oh, right. Speaking of presents. Cindy looked back. She grabbed Tom's wrist and pulled him forcefully in front of me. This is the super rich boss I was telling you about. He bought you a present too. With her other hand, she grabbed mine and slapped it into Tom's. She coughed twice and glanced at the silent man. My mom's pretty, right? How come you're so quiet today? Cat got your tongue? In the end, it was I who broke the silence. I quickly pulled my hand back from Tom's and forced a laugh. What a coincidence. It really has been a long time. Cindy said you were here on a business trip? Oh, well, we won't keep you then. We'll just head home. We'll catch up some other time. Tom quickly cut me off. Rose. You should know this isn't a coincidence. Can we talk, please? Cindy, who had been all giggles, now sensed something was off. Her eyes darted wildly between me and Tom. They narrowed into a tiny slit, radiating an intense air of gossip. I sighed helplessly. Deep down, I knew I couldn't run from this. After all, I had left the man a fake terminal cancer diagnosis, telling him I only had 3 months to live. Now, here I was, not only alive and kicking but with a child this old. Wasn't this a medical miracle? I lowered my head and discreetly and carefully pulled Cindy closer into my arms. Fine. Cindy just got back, let her rest a bit first. I'll drop her off at a friend's house for a little while, okay? After getting Cindy settled, Tom and I went to a nearby coffee shop. Since it was a weekday, it was almost empty. The atmosphere was honestly a bit awkward. I guiltily clutched my hot drink, my mind a jumble of chaotic thoughts. I didn't know when Tom had found me. I didn't know why he had come looking for me. Right, and I didn't know if he knew about Cindy's identity yet. To be honest, I was terrified that Tom would try to take Cindy away from me. Judging by Cindy's current behavior. Given how much she seemed to like Tom, if it came to a fight, I wasn't sure what my chances of winning were. Oh, right. In that case, wouldn't I need to find a lawyer? Oh God. Lawyer fees would be another huge expense. Just as my mind was drifting off to calculating how much money I had left in my bank account, a red velvet square box suddenly appeared in front of me. Tom gently pushed it toward me. He coughed softly. A necklace. I went to Hong Kong for business a while back and bought it at an auction. Open it and see if you like it. He glanced at me. I don't know if it was my imagination, but he seemed a bit tentative, even his tone was cautious and hesitant. Even though I didn't know when I'd see you again, I got you a present for your birthday every year. If you don't like this one, I have others back home. They're all from the brands you used to like. The brands I used to like? The brands I used to like were all ridiculously overpriced luxury goods. And I'm picky, too. Nothing common. They had to be sparkly and covered in all sorts of flashy diamonds. I blurted out. The question that had been stuck in my throat since the moment I saw him. Tom, you're amazing, aren't you? You've already built a new successful business? Tom's hand, which was passing me a pastry, froze. His whole face took on a look of pure, innocent confusion, a stark contrast to his business elite persona. Huh? Rose, what are you talking about? I scratched my nose. I was a bit confused myself. Well, it's just that, weren't you about to go bankrupt back then? 6 years ago. I saw it with my own eyes, the documents on your office desk. It was called a financial report or some kind of debt sheet, wasn't it on there? The words had barely left my mouth when I stopped short. In a flash, a conversation I'd had with Leo in the library came flooding back into my memory. At the time, I was stuck in an infinite loop of memorizing abandon. I hadn't paid any attention to the rich kid's complaints. At most, I just laughed it off. But now, as I said the words myself, the disconnected nerve in my brain suddenly sparked to life. Debt to asset ratio. The banks being willing to lend you money means you have good credit. You have to borrow money to have more spare cash to earn even more money. So that's how it was. So I and that half-baked rich idiot Leo had done the same stupid thing. So Tom never went bankrupt at all. So. No wonder he's still so rich. I shot up from my seat. My first instinct was still to run. As the head of a monopolistic conglomerate, if he found out I had played him like this, crushing me would be as easy as crushing an ant, right? The next moment, Tom grabbed my wrist tightly. Where are you going? Rose, explain yourself. I get it now. You left because you thought I was going bankrupt, didn't you? His eyes were red, with visible bloodshot veins. His voice was trembling as he spoke. But I wasn't. I didn't go bankrupt. Can you please not leave me again? What's happening right now? I tried to gently pull my hand away, but it wouldn't budge. Tom held me down with his left hand, took out his phone with his right, and tapped a few times. A moment later, my phone received a text message. It came with an attachment, a dense list of assets. Real estate, personal property, stocks, options, funds, bank deposits, and so on. All under Tom's name. He looked completely calm. I thought about it, and I've figured it out. This whole thing is actually my fault. It's because I didn't fully disclose my income to you, Rose, that we've ended up in this situation. So I've sent you a list of my assets. Can I transfer 50% of the real estate to you? The other 50% can be put in Cindy's name. The stocks and funds might involve major transactions, require board approval, and public disclosure to investors, so the impact and risks are quite significant. If you're concerned about that. I was already completely stunned. I quickly cut him off. Tom. What are you doing? I guess. In Tom's eyes, I'm still quite the gold digger. So when he heard me ask that, if this were the old me, I would have grabbed a pen and signed on the dotted line without a second thought. But now, I actually found myself pushing it away. Tom was clearly taken aback. After a moment, he tentatively brought up Cindy. Is it because of the child? Don't try to tell me her father is some young guy you met later. Besides anything else, we have things like paternity tests, don't we? Rose. We've been apart for so many years, I need to make up for what I owe Cindy. Tom gently placed his hands on my shoulders. I want to be her father. And your husband. I want us to be a family of 3. Give me a chance, please. I lowered my eyes. Cindy is her own person. And Tom was right. She has the right to know who her father is, the right to decide her own future. I should tell her the truth. I nodded. Okay. I need to go home and think about it. Tom didn't say much more. Honestly, the way things had developed was already far beyond anything I could have imagined. When I picked up Cindy and took her home, my mind was still a complete blur. It took me a while to calm down and organize my thoughts. I explained everything to Cindy from beginning to end. Yes. That uncle is your father. His name is Tom, and he was my boyfriend a long time ago. We were separated by an accident, okay? Given how much Cindy liked Tom. Just when I thought she was about to start screaming and celebrating finally becoming the rich kid she'd always dreamed of being, she suddenly fell silent. The air grew quiet. The little girl in the poofy dress slowly walked towards me, squeezed into my lap, and cupped my neck with her hands. She stared at me intently. What about Mommy? What does Mommy think? Cindy really wants Mommy and Daddy to be together, but what Mommy wants is the most important thing. If Mommy doesn't like Daddy, then no matter how rich he is, Cindy would rather things go back to how they were. Just living with Mommy, the 2 of us. Because our old life was really happy too. Cindy. I reached out and hugged her tightly. My eyes started to get teary. Knowing that my daughter is just as obsessed with money as I am, I understood even more deeply how precious it was for her to say something like that. The next moment, Cindy lifted her head from my embrace and started batting her big eyes again. Of course, Mom. I still hope you and Dad Tom get together. And it's definitely not because he's a billionaire. And it's not because he bought me a bunch of limited edition collaboration toys. It's because he's super popular with my classmates right now. The next time someone says I don't have a dad, I'm going to drag him over to fight for me. I burst out laughing. Honestly, my own feelings for Tom were a bit of a muddle. When I was with him, I was genuinely happy. Including after we met again this time, when he said he wanted to start over. To live as a family of 3. Aside from the shock, I didn't feel much resistance. But in the 6 years since, after leaving Tom, I was slowly able to make my own money, to build my own career. That sense of accomplishment, compared to my old life as a kept woman, was truly indescribable. Thinking about this, I called Tom. He answered almost instantly. I leaned back slightly, resting against the back of my chair. I've already told Cindy everything. And I've thought about it myself. About our relationship. Tom's breathing sounded a bit rushed and suppressed. He let out a soft mm. His voice trembled. So, Rose. What's your decision? My decision? Tom. Cindy seems to really like you. As for me, well, the whole thing was a misunderstanding. Perhaps we can fix it. I could already hear Tom sucking in a breath. However, I added with a turn. I have an entrance exam coming up soon. After that, I'm going to college, and I plan to continue running my design business online. You don't have a problem with that, do you? When I first got together with Tom, he was practically my dad's savior. Back then, my feelings for him were more like admiration. When he said college was too much trouble, I didn't argue. But things are different now. I have my own thoughts and ideas. There was no way I was going to regress and get trapped in a domestic life again. I thought Tom would argue with me for a bit. But to my surprise, the next moment, he immediately agreed. College? Is it because of my attitude back then? I remember now, you said you wanted to go to college. I was just. Whatever the reason. I won't be like that again, Rose. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to achieve, I will support you 100%. I'll never pour cold water on your dreams again. You can trust me. Really. As if afraid I would hang up the phone the next second, Tom spoke in a long rush. Then he lowered his voice. Are there any other requests? As long as it's something I can do, I'll do it. Anything else? I'm not that greedy, am I? Just then, Cindy pounced over, snatched the phone, and ordered in a crisp, firm voice. I have a request. I do. A classmate bullied me and said I don't have a dad. I've written all their names down in my little notebook. You need to come with me in the next few days and beat them up, one by one. Tom's voice shot up. Someone dared to mess with my daughter? Cindy huffed. What do you know? Come over and pick up me and Mom right now. And bring some people to pack our things. Then pack me some little cakes and chocolates. If they're good, I might tell you more about what Mom and I have been up to these past few years. I could faintly hear the sound of someone putting on shoes and running on the other end of the line. I'm on my way right now. Epilogue. When Tom first saw Rose's cancer diagnosis, he nearly went insane. Advanced stage, metastasized. 3 months left. Not seeking treatment. He was simultaneously contacting hospitals and mobilizing all his resources to find Rose's whereabouts. And he made a silent vow. When he found her, he would force her to get treatment. He would, sooner or later, snatch her back from the jaws of death. But months went by. And there was no news at all. Finding a person was too difficult. After all, Tom didn't even know if Rose was still in the country. He became anxious and restless. He ignored the nasty rumors that were flying around. And often just locked himself in his office, not coming out for long periods. Until one day, the hospital suddenly called him. "Mr. Tom? We've just discovered a problem with the test report you submitted last time. We remember you said your wife was around 20 years old, correct? The CT scan from this report shows a woman in her 40s, and she's likely given birth before. It seems it was swapped with someone else's report." Tom felt his heart leap into his throat. He didn't know what he was feeling right now, only that his head was spinning. He could barely speak. "Why are you only discovering this now?" The person on the other end knew they had messed up and apologized profusely. Yes, it was our oversight. We just never thought something like this would be faked. But rest assured, Mr. Tom, we've already contacted other hospitals within our group and found Mississippi White's medical records." The voice on the other end grew quieter. "This is all supposed to be confidential patient information. But considering your relationship with her, actually, Mississippi White's appointment was with the obstetrics department. She was pregnant." Tom called back all the people he had sent out searching for news. After learning that Rose had left because she was pregnant, he reflected for a long time. Why would a woman leave, even when she was carrying his child? It must be because the man was just that terrible. He began to recall their time together, peeling back the layers of his own awful behavior like an onion, and correcting them, one by one. Tom had never been one for media interviews before. From then on, he became even more low-key. He thought, the next time he met Rose, she would meet a new, better Tom. Perhaps God had given him a chance. 6 years passed. On a random business trip, he happened upon a primary school group on a summer camp tour. While waiting for his assistant to get the car, a little girl suddenly bumped into him. She clutched her nose, saying sorry, and didn't notice a photo falling out of her pocket. Tom bent down to pick it up. And then he saw. It was Rose's ID photo.